We move ahead to the next news video as we jump right in, and again we talk about the fact that Impact Wrestling's Under Siege pay-per-view is tonight. And right after this news video, we will break into a preview and predictions for Impact Wrestling's pay-per-view Under Siege, which is headlined by Steve Maclin's first Impact Wrestling title defense against the monster himself, PCO. Again, if I didn't mention it in the previous news video, which I'm not sure if I did or I didn't, but Tony Khan did mention in the media call for Double or Nothing that he would speak about a potential brand split between AEW, between the ranks of AEW, with the pending arrival of AEW Collision next month. He would speak about the potential brand split in due time, which likely means closer to Collision we will get an update on a potential brand split. But speaking of upcoming AEW plans, Forbidden Door will be the next pay-per-view for AEW following Double or Nothing. And that means that we will start seeing New Japan talent appear on AEW programming over the next month or so, as the month of June houses Forbidden Door. And there is a long list of talent that may not be able to appear at Forbidden Door because of New Japan's strong affiliation with CMLL. Basically, any talent that has strong affiliation with AAA, which is interesting that AEW has their relationship with New Japan, but also have a relationship with AAA, and New Japan has their relationship with CMLL. So you would wonder if New Japan would have been able to have AEW step aside with their relationship with AAA and put together a relationship with only CMLL. But I guess they can't control who their partners work with. They can only control who they work with. So that means that the likes of El Hijo del Vikingo, Rush, Andrade, Jarlistico, Rush, Andrade, Jarlistico, Commander, Penta, Phoenix, Bandito are all highly unlikely, they're highly unlikely to appear, as Dave Meltzer says. They are expected not to be allowed to appear at Forbidden Door due to CMLL's strong ties to New Japan, and the fact that, for example, Vikingo is AAA Mega Champion. So it's like you're not going to have the world champion of AAA appear at a New Japan show with New Japan having strong ties to with CMLL. So it does, but also none of those guys outside of Andrade, the only three I believe offhand, the only guys that are actually under AEW contract, I'm not sure about Rush or Bandito, but Andrade, Penta, and Phoenix are the only guys that I know for certain that are under AEW contracts. Everybody else, I don't really know if they're under AEW contracts, because Vikingo, Commander, and Jarlistico are not under contracts with AEW. They're under contracts with AAA. So that's different. It is entirely possible, though, that Rush and Bandito are under contract with AEW, and I may have just missed it. But also, Bandito may be under contract with Ring of Honor, so it may be separate. But now that I think about it, he may actually have a contract with AEW. So, again, it just goes back to, it's not surprising that Vikingo, Commander, and Jarlistico would not be able to appear, as they don't have contracts with AEW. They are contracted AAA talent. They are not contracted AEW talent. There's a difference. You know, there is a difference. You know, and the difference is they worked for the enemy as far as CMLL is concerned. They worked for the enemy as far as CMLL is concerned. When the guys that have contracts with AEW do not work for the enemy, they work for AEW. But I'm sure that is disappointing for some AEW fans. But again, you're talking about people who don't have a contract with AEW. You're talking about people who have contracts with AAA. But again, that's just me. That is it for AEW news, though. We move now to WWE as, according to reports from Worked Wrestling, I believe it was Worked Wrestling, I could be wrong, but apparently Dominic Mysterio is not only pegged to be a part of the Money in the Bank title match, but also well, actually, that's actually all the rumor has, is that Dom is pegged to be a part of the world title, the Money in the Bank match at Money in the Bank in the O2 in London. There is no rumor going around that Dominic Mysterio could win, but Dom joins the likes of Cody Rhodes, LA Knight, and Logan Paul as potential members of Money in the Bank this year. Like I said, I believe it was late last week. Earlier this week, we got the first of the qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. So after Night of Champions, we will likely get more Money in the Bank qualifying matches, as Money in the Bank will be the focus of WWE through the month of June, with no pay-per-view in the month of June right now for WWE set, and the next pay-per-view being Money in the Bank on July the 1st. Speaking of WWE, though, you may have noticed that WWE is shifting the focus to showcase younger talent. One example being Dominic Mysterio, who had his breakthrough moment last year when he turned heel, and also Rhea Ripley, who's been more positioned through the bottom to the top of the card. This comes from Dave Meltzer, as he states that there's a big internal focus right now to get younger age talent on Raw and SmackDown, which is something that a lot of fans have been preaching and praying and pleading with WWE to do for years at this point, because of the fact that they could not continue to rely on just the old, outdated stars that nobody really cared about, and that everybody was tired of seeing, because you could not rely on the old age stars forever. Speaking of a star that could be hanging up the boots sooner rather than later, Edge. According to reports, Edge's future is touch and go and retirement, and that though retirement is not 100%, it is like there's no plan officially for retirement for Edge. Once Edge decides on who he wants to face in his retirement match, WWE will build to it as necessary, but Edge will decide who he will fight in his retirement match when that opportunity presents itself. Whenever that comes, that's what'll happen. But the fact of the matter is, it is now in. I guess the best way to put it is, it's now in the windshield, looking into the future, that Edge's retirement is on the horizon. And once he decides when he wants to retire and how he wants to go out, WWE will work around that, as his future is touch and go. And honestly, I'm happy that it was Edge, because I honestly thought it was Randy Orton that the news would be about. But I'm happy that it's Edge, and I'm happy that Edge will be able to go out on his terms and end his career like he wanted to, rather than ending it how he had to back in 2011. With that being said, though, that is it for the news, and we just have one more video to get to, the preview of Impact Wrestling Under Siege.